All right. Welcome to the Digital Third. Let me swap in here. I'm just gonna, without further ado, I'm just gonna jump in and bring in Michael from Work Louder. How's it going?
Hey man, how's it going? Happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so I'm super excited to chat with you. There's so many things like I want to ask you. You've blown up the whole mechanical keyboard space, and for those who haven't heard of you, well, they will when they watch this. So maybe we can start with you can just share who you are, a little intro, and then I'd like to share a little bit of like what you've accomplished because it's amazing.
Yeah, sounds good. So, I'm Mike, one of the co-founders of Work Louder. We started this whole keyboard journey about 3 years ago via an Instagram post. And so by we, I'm talking about my co-founder Mattia. He's a graphic designer by trade, fully self-taught in like industrial design, all that. I actually studied pharmacology in university, so I have no
Oh,
background
cool.
in business or marketing or anything like that. Although I do love entrepreneurship and like building things, and things also include businesses. So this is
Okay.
Work Louder is my third startup. My first one was in education, the second one was in vodka, and then the third one's
Oh,
keyboards.
so different.
Yeah,
Wow.
quite the diverse portfolio I've got.
Interesting. I wonder if your fourth company will be an intersection of all of them all put together.
Who knows? Who knows?
That's awesome. Okay, so who and what is Work Louder? I just want to. I have some stats here that like blew my mind. So you guys started with $2,000 and a 3D render. You and Mattia. 100 hours of user research. You guys identified a problem that basically there's just like, especially with COVID, there's overstimulation in the workplace for digital workers. And then you guys decided to design a mechanical keyboard to address this problem. So you launched a Kickstarter and you were 635% funded in 3 minutes. And I
Yeah,
think I
thank
came
you.
like after the 3 minutes. So yeah, I was one of the crowdfunders. And then you guys raised $500,000 in 30 days. So that's massive. Um,
Thank you.
Tell me about the origin story. Like, did it all start with that creator board with Mattia? Because I'll just share my screen here. But I mean, I think it started with where is it? This guy here, right?
Yeah, so yeah, the creator board. That was our first product. And giving credit where credit's due, I actually had almost zero input in the designing of this of that first product. I think the most input that I had with that was if it should be a 1U or 2U spacebar.
Okay.
And that was like all the design input that I had in the creator board. Because the way that I actually got involved in the company was I was redesigning a label for the vodka company that I was running at the
Okay.
time. So this is like 3 years ago, uh, and I was creating the world's first pink potato-based vodka. Like I kind of had this idea that I was like,
Okay.
okay, like I kind of had this idea like I hate vodka and everyone hates vodka, but like why do people hate vodka? And it's like but everyone loves gin, and so that kind of like infatuated me, and then this opportunity to like get involved in this like pink potato-based vodka came around, and I was just like that's it, like I can solve this problem for all these people that hate hard alcohol. And it was going well during COVID, and then because we were getting our bottles from overseas, we couldn't get them from China anymore. All the ports closed down, and essentially like it kind of like started to go out of business. And then that was when I was like, okay, like we're out of money,
Okay.
we're out of money, we're out of product, and we're a startup, and like I need to like somehow figure out how to like market to sell the rest of the vodka that we had.
Interesting.
And that's when I kind of discovered TikTok. And it was like
Okay.
literally like a last ditch effort. I was like, God, I hate TikTok with their dancing trends and all this stuff, because like back then that's just like what I thought it was.
Was
It's
this
like
when
four or
TikTok
five
just
years ago.
started? So
And this was like
2018,
this is like
2019?
this was like summer 2020.
Okay.
So like TikTok was like, I don't want to say like mature by that point, but it was
Mhm.
definitely like far along. Like it had billions, like had at least a billion users by then.
Right. Right.
And I just remember seeing my sister, my younger sister, posting like, you know, her and her girlfriend like these little cutesy videos on TikTok. And they were getting like 200,000 views, and I was like, man, I'd give my left nut to get 200,000 views like on a business post, you know?
Yeah.
When you have no money, right? And so I was just like, okay, well, like, let's just try making TikToks. And so I was making TikToks, and we actually like started to blow up. Like when I have like the quintessential like typical ADHD thing where like you hyper focus
Uh-huh.
and like you can literally move mountains. But it's only when you're under like an incredible amount of stress,
Okay.
which works because like in Work Louder, I'm always under an incredible amount of stress.
Well, okay,
Um,
that says a lot because you produced a lot, and your marketing, the videos are amazing. So you do that yourself.
Yeah, so
Wow.
pretty much everything that we do at Work Louder is all done in house.
Okay.
And so, like, kind of going back a little bit to the origin story of Work Louder and, like, kind of how I got into this position of, like, marketing
Right.
was I just started creating videos on TikTok for the vodka company, and it took off. We were getting tons of traction. We actually, like, overturned a decision that the LCBO, so this is like I know you're Canadian, but for the non-Canadian viewers, this is like the largest buyer of alcohol had initially said no to us
Huh.
for our application to sell in that province. And with TikTok, we actually overturned that decision by like rallying our community. And that was like the first time that I'd
Wow.
ever tried rallying a community to do something like that. And it
Okay.
worked. And it was crazy because it never had happened in the history of the LCBO. Like no one had ever overturned a decision
Wow.
like that. And we did using TikTok followers. But like,
And
you know,
how
it was kind
many
of
how many followers were you guys gaining to overturn that decision?
so when when we started posting on TikTok, it was like beginning of August
Uh-huh.
2020, and this was like maybe like a month later. Like we went from like 0 followers to 25,000 followers on
Okay.
TikTok, and like we just like leveraged like there was like an inbox essentially where you could like write like a request to stock a product at the store. And
Okay.
so we just made a TikTok being like, this is our story, this is what we want to do. They said no to us, fuck that, we're going to change this decision. We're just going to blow up their suggestions inbox. Like we're just going to like make sure that they don't have any other suggestions other than our vodka.
Wow. Okay.
And like within an hour, they had received, I think it was like something like 1,000 email requests for our
Wow.
product, and it was like, and it just clogged up their entire inbox. It was like,
That's
it
smart.
was just so funny, and so it worked. But then it like no good deed goes unpunished kind of thing.
Right.
And it was like, and then within like a week, there were like there were 3 parents that had made a complaint online about us advertising vodka on TikTok. They just
Uh-huh.
thought like the sheer principle of it was wrong. So that we shouldn't be allowed to do that. And anyways, and just by those parents filing that complaint to the government like that, we got in a lot of trouble. And so I then like, okay, well like maybe I need to do a rebrand. Like that was like my second startup, and it hadn't like made a lot of money yet. I like hadn't even paid myself. So, it was like I was still like very green, even though like at
Okay.
that point in time, I think I'd spent like 6 years building startups. And I was
Okay.
redesigning the label for that vodka company, and I was like, maybe there's like tools and stuff that can like help me design faster, Because
Right.
I was just like on my MacBook, like just doing whatever, right?
Okay.
And that's when I came across the creator board and was like, wow, like I need
Mm.
this thing. And I reached out to the Instagram page, and like the guy was like, well, we actually don't sell this. And then fast forward 6 months, I just offered my time to jump on a Zoom call with him and show him like a launch strategy that I had written.
Right.
And he was like, why don't we just do this together? Like, you seem to know what you're doing. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I just think this would work for you. Like, you have a lot of engagement on your social media. Like, I
Right,
just want to
right.
buy your keyboard one day, you know?
You were just a super
Um,
fan, and like
I was just a
you didn't
super
want it
fan.
to die.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So yeah.
So yeah, so many follow-up questions on that. So you said you offered like a strategy. So you've been doing startups or running startups for 6 years prior. Was that just by learning on your own, or just, trial through fire? And then, yeah, even with the vodka company, you learn how to, like, were you the designer, marketer? Were you wearing like multiple hats? How did you kind of pick up that skill set? Or was it just like, here's a plan that I think would work, but let's just go for it? Because I love that attitude.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like your typical entrepreneur in the sense that, like, I don't care what job I'm doing. Like, I don't care if it's like the packing box job, janitor job, or the CEO job. Like, I just need to get the job done. Like,
Mm,
that's all that matters, right?
nice.
Like, I just need to get the job done. And, it was, it was kind of like a grind, right? Like, in all my startups, I always had the jobs that no one wanted to do.
Okay.
And like I said, I had no background in business. I had no background in like design,
Right.
and so I always ended up getting the hardest job that I
Okay.
was like the least qualified for. And like, there's a lot of things that I'd learned over the years, but like, to put it all in a nutshell, I think the biggest driver of what led me to come across Work Louder was just kind of learning about myself, what I didn't like. Like, I was like, okay, well, I don't like doing this aspect of the job, not because like I just don't want to do it, but it's like I'm genuinely not good at it, and it's
Right.
something that would take too long to become good at. And or there was things like like the business model of the startup that I didn't like, and it was like, it's just like an aspect of that startup. So, like, for instance, when you're selling vodka, I was coming out of my first startup where I was like, okay, I don't like selling directly to businesses. That
Okay.
sucks. Like, the sales cycle is super long. I didn't like that. And so that was the first thing I learned out of that startup. But it was like, and I kind of realized that along the way, like, the biggest takeaways were the ones that I was takeaway, like, there were takeaways about myself, like what I was
Mm,
learning about myself, like my strengths, my weaknesses. And I throughout all the startups, it was like marketing was one of those things that I just always wanted to avoid. I just hated
okay.
marketing. I just hated it. I was like, there's nothing, like, every time somebody wanted to do marketing for me, it was always somebody trying to screw me over or like oversell to people. And it was like, and it always felt icky. And like, I didn't
Okay.
like how a lot of other people did marketing. And so, when I kind of like started doing like TikTok for the vodka company, I kind of realized, I'm like, I don't need to do marketing like how I've always thought of it. Like, I can do
Mm,
marketing how I as a human being would want to be communicated to.
right. I love that.
And like again, in a nutshell, like, it was always like learning things about, like, realizing things about myself, like my own being, that was like the true unlock, right? Like, man, I like, over the last 10 years of doing this now, because like I've been running Work Louder for 3 years.
Okay.
So like, it's coming up on the 10-year anniversary of me doing startup stuff. um I just realized, like, it's you're going to learn a lot of stuff along the way. Like, I participated in accelerators, and I read
Okay.
things online, and watched all sorts of stuff. But like, the real unlock was like learning things about myself, what I like to do,
Mm,
because you probably have heard this, like, whatever job you end up taking, whether you're creating your own business or like working for somebody else, it's kind of like running on a treadmill. And if you're running on a treadmill that you hate, you're going to get tired really quick. But if you have a goal in mind, or you genuinely like that treadmill, for instance,
right.
it's going to make it a lot easier to continue running even when you're tired. And so, like, I was like, okay, well, like, I don't like selling to corporate. I don't like
Okay.
that. It's like, I have to be a kiss ass, and like, I have to do a lot of like networking and handshaking and all this stuff, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, it feels fake.
Mm,
And I worked at during this whole thing. while I was like building startups, I would always say, if your startup isn't making money, it's not a real business. It's just an expensive hobby.
Okay.
And so like for like 7 years, I had a very expensive hobby. Um, and the way that I funded that is like I would work like freelance jobs. I lived at my parents until I was like 26.
Okay.
Um, and I worked at Swatch, and that was like my longest kind of like side gig, if you will. If I took like my hobby as my main gig, the side gig was working at Swatch, and I worked there for about a year, even though I knew nothing about watches, I knew nothing about Swatch in general. Um,
Hmm.
but I really discovered, like not selling to sell, but you sell on benefits. And when you sell on benefits, you're actually giving people what they want. And so
Right.
you don't
Right.
have to like hard sell people or like make it seem like you're trying to screw them over or whatever. You're
Hmm.
just offering them something that you figured out that they want, right? And I think that that's like a really powerful thing to go after, like just, and it's simple, but like give people what they want, right? But to
Right.
understand that, you need to be really empathetic and understand what their struggles are and where they're coming from. And working in retail, I really got to see that, because at the end of the
Hmm.
day, I was selling people watches, and watches are a really personal thing. Like they wear it all the time.
Okay.
Um, and so you really have to like quickly be able to identify like what makes somebody tick, what's their style, what are they looking for in terms of like, do they want something glow in the dark or waterproof or anti-shatter, right? And so you combine that with now an ability to create a TikTok that can amplify that message to millions of people almost instantly.
Okay.
Then you have a really dangerous mixture.
So you enjoy creating the TikTok videos, the marketing, like spinning it in a creative way. That's something that doesn't drain you, right? Like you love doing that.
Yeah, I'm not the best at editing. Like, I watch these guys on YouTube or on Instagram, and like they have like these super cool setups, and they're like amazing with their cameras and stuff, and I'm just like there with my iPhone, right? It's like, but at the end of the day, I think that's like really hopeful to like a lot of people that don't necessarily have enough money to buy like a couple $1,000 camera. It's
Right.
like your couple $1,000 camera is sitting in your iPhone, and
Yes.
like
Yeah,
a
totally.
lot of people have iPhones and they just think like, oh, I couldn't be an influencer because like I just have an iPhone. Um, but it's like, man, I fucking built a whole business with just an iPhone, essentially. You know?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I want to address, I mean, you were interviewed on Off Grid, which is a buddy of mine run by Fonzmans. And I love how it just told your story because I think there was one question here where um, you said basically like execution, like just it's not about knowing everything, but just execute and like learn on the go. And I think like
Oh yeah.
you've taken that. Sounds like you've taken that in all your careers and all your different startups. So I love that attitude. How did you like foster that type of mindset? Like, or is that just something you've always had? Because as creatives and as like entrepreneurs or people want to start their thing, we can get so caught up on, having the master plan and making sure that everything's all figured out before you step. So yeah, curious if you can share more on
That's
that.
that's a that's a very good question. It comes back to what I was saying earlier about like how the biggest unlocks in my like professional career have always been looking inwards as opposed to like looking outwards for
Okay.
information.
Hmm.
And so when you say like how did you foster that kind of idea of like just execute?
Yeah.
Um, it's understanding that the reason why most people don't execute is that they're afraid of judgment.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I was not opposed, like I was not any different in that
Right.
sense. Like
Okay.
I was also afraid of judgment, and I was scared of failure. And like I come from a wealthy family, right? And I've always had people saying like, you didn't work for anything, you didn't work for anything. And that's why
Mm.
I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't want to take any handouts. I'm already living at my parents. That's a huge handout. I'm not paying rent, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, like I really want to like build this thing for myself, and so when once you realize like whoever whoever's judgment you're scared of, whether it's
Uh-huh.
like some random stranger on the internet or your parents, or in my case, it was honestly myself. I was just always being too hard on myself.
Mm.
Um, and something I would always tell myself is done is better than perfect,
Yeah,
because perfect is
100%.
never done. Perfect is never
Totally.
done.
Yeah.
And you can improve something that's shitty, but if something's never done and it's never released, then you never get the feedback that you need to improve it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you really boil it down, it comes down to like two really obvious things at the end of the day. One, most people are scared of judgment,
Mm-hmm.
and the other thing is essentially like you just need to put it out there. You just need to do it,
Right. Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
then you can get the feedback, and then you can improve it. And that was something that Mattia was like one of the roadblocks for him. So like he had many
Okay.
roadblocks that were preventing him from launch Work Louder. But I genuinely think one of the biggest things that were preventing him was like to stop being so hard on himself.
Mm.
And that was something that like I like even to this day, like him and I work on that in the sense that like we support each other, and we like say like, it's okay that it's not perfect. Like it's okay if people get mad. Like it's part of the process. As long
Mm-hmm.
as we're here with good intent and the ability and desire to fix it, then honestly it's okay if we make mistakes. No one's going to be perfect. Um, and so, it's like you just at one point you just need to jump. You just need to go for it. And
Yeah.
and to give you an example of that, Mattia had been working on designing the creator board for like 2 years behind the scenes, and he was
Okay.
like, "Yeah, but it's not ready." And I was like, "Okay, Mattia, like if I'm gonna get involved in this thing,"
Yeah.
and he was funny because he's like, are you gonna like put in money into this? I'm like, no, like I have no money. I have like
I
zero
know.
money. Actually in debt from my previous startups. Um, like we're gonna build this company on two things.
Mm-hmm.
One, it's gonna be merit. So everything that we need to do, it has to be based on merit. And the other one is execution. So like merit and execution.
Okay.
So like we're gonna put a product out there. It's because it merits to be out there and it merits to be continued to be sold. Like we're not gonna like funnel money into this thing to like hopefully have people buy this. Like we need to do our user research. We need to like really understand what people want, what people are doing, and then that's going to
Okay.
help us like mitigate some of that risk.
So when you
And then
when you say merit, sorry, merit
yeah,
as in it's validated by the community, by the people?
yeah, and like
Yeah.
and it deserves its spot. Like I mean, like when you really think of like the market,
Mm-hmm.
like in terms of like a financial field, like court, if you will, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're not good enough to be out on the field, like go sit on the bench, and like steady the plays. Like
Right.
that's what it is, man. Like people love to compare it to war, right? It's not war. People aren't dying when you put them out of business, or like when your
Right.
product doesn't do. No one's dying, but you do get hurt. It hurts your ego,
Mm-hmm.
and like you're down, right? You're down in like the playoffs or whatever it is, and it's like, and it's about understanding that like there's a next step to this. Like you're not
Or there's
out,
a next
you're just,
season, yeah.
yeah, there's a next
Yeah.
season to this. Like you're not out, you're just down. So if you think of it as
Mm.
like a game,
Yeah.
if you think of this whole thing as a game, and and your north star isn't like like money. If your north
Mm-hmm.
star is money, you're gonna have a really hard time grinding and
Mm.
putting in the hours needed to grow. But if you're doing it because you love it, and you're just like, ah, man, like fuck, like that company did like really good, like they got me on that, or like like their product launch was super good, and like like I maybe I'll take this one for my next thing, and like you
Right.
just grow like that. Man, progress
Huh.
is progress, regardless of how small it is, and it works like that in for creators as well. Like whether you're building a company or just building your Instagram channel, it's the same
Interesting.
thing, right? Like it's about testing things, not judging yourself, and,
Mm.
and just getting it out there. Just getting it out there. So like when Mattia was like, I don't know, like I don't know anything about building keyboards, and I told him neither did I.
That's so
I
crazy.
literally like no one ever asks us like, how did you figure out like what your launch date was going to be for the creator board?
Okay. Right.
But I'll let you know how I picked that. I literally just asked Mattia. I'm like, when's your birthday? And he's like January 29th. I'm like, that's in like 2 months from now. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, cool. We're gonna launch the creator board on your birthday because I'm
Oh,
sentimental
that's
like that.
so funny. Mine's on the
And like
28th.
You
That's
know,
so
and I
funny.
was just I was just like he was like, yeah, but like
Wow.
we don't even know if we can make this thing. I'm like, but that's been your problem the entire time. Like
Uh-huh.
you've designed this thing so it looks so good that you can fool people to
Hmm.
think that it's real even when it's not. And like it, like that's crazy. Like it's there. It's literally
Right.
right there. Like we just need to have the determination to do it. And so I told him
Okay.
like we're gonna pick your birthday and we're gonna launch it on your birthday,
Two
regardless if we
months.
know how to build this thing or not.
Okay, okay. So you said, okay, that's man, that's amazing. I'm getting so much out of this. So that's merit. You have 2 months now. You said the other part of the formula is just pure execution. So what did you do? And like 2 months is nothing. Like even where do you start to source material and or even like put together what a logic board or whatever like you get. I guess Mattia was more in the he's an industrial designer, so he specialized in that. But like how did you piece all that together? And I do want to have some time to like actually dive into the Nomad E because I think like that's obviously
Sure.
your baby right now. But yeah, like tell me a little bit of like how you guys got around to getting the first batch for the creator board.
So I had a bit of experience with physical product coming off of the vodka startup, right?
Hmm.
So I had already kind of dove into the world of like procurement and getting quotes and
Okay.
all that. And I mean, like, it is not as hard as people think it is.
Really?
That's like
Mm.
getting suppliers is not the hard thing. Like I said, it's usually people that they're stuck in their own head and they
Mm.
tell themselves that they can't do it. And
Mm.
so, but like if they just spent like 5 minutes and just like went on Google and typed in like Shenzhen like circuit board manufacturer, like they would get 100 listings, and then it's just a
Right.
matter of contacting them, right? So that's like literally what I
Wow.
did, and I just contacted a bunch of suppliers,
Crazy.
and yeah, the hard part was finding good ones, and then being
Okay.
able to weather the storms of the bad ones, right? Like last Christmas, Work Louder could have been put out of business, like straight up. Like we had placed our largest order to date at that point, which was $120,000 worth of keyboards.
Wow.
The thing is that we ordered them in black, and they showed up in charcoal gray. And like we're selling these things to probably the
Wow.
most picky and detail oriented people on the internet. I mean, like designers, like you know what I mean. Like we they wanted it black, and we got it in gray, and this was no fault of our own. It was just the manufacturer decided to do
Mm.
something different, and they didn't want to take back the product. They didn't want to fix it. The solution that they had offered me to resolve this whole issue of them sending our entire Christmas stock in a completely wrong color for pre-orders that had already been paid for
Whew.
was, we'll give you 10% off your next order.
Okay. Shoot. Wow.
So so that's really where you get to see like if you're cut out for this kind of job or not, right? Like
Right.
like you wouldn't tell somebody like go play like professional basketball if like they have no athleticism, right?
Yeah.
So but like entrepreneurship, it's a lot easier to fake it. It's a lot easier to fake it because like how often do these like crisis moments really happen, and how often like does somebody ever get there where it's like they're put into that position, right?
Right.
And so what we ended up doing is like I turned to my little sister and was like, yo, we have a major problem on our hands, and like we need to just like create content around this. And
Okay.
so I think it was my wife that had mentioned was the first to mention it, to say like, why don't you guys do like a limited edition for it? And I was like, no, like that's not gonna work. It's like, no, they ordered it in black. Like I'd be upset if I had ordered this and didn't get it in black. And she's like, yeah, but it's all about like how you position it. And I was like,
Right.
okay, fine. So like I went to my little sister and was like, okay, like let's just like create TikTok content around this. And she made 5 videos, and one of those videos went viral, and then it literally sold out like over the Christmas season, and we were good.
Oh,
And
but
we had mitigated that risk.
didn't you have customers pre-order for a certain color for
Yeah,
for the
so
pure black?
I had to do damage control. I had to
Okay.
go and say, this is the deal. This is what happened. I was
Right.
like, this is what, and now we have a limited edition. I'm like, I can give you this limited edition and give you a bunch of extra stuff with it. So I'm
Okay.
going to give you extra dials and like a custom stand that goes with it. I literally just was like, I'm going to give them two choices.
Yeah.
Like they can get the black version, which was the original one, or
Right.
this new version that's
Right.
this gray one. But like realistically, if the majority of people chose the black one, I would have gone out of business. Like because I just wouldn't
Okay.
have been able to
Yeah.
fulfill those orders in a reasonable amount of time,
Right.
and like too many people would have been upset, and it would have just put us out of business.
Okay.
And so like the goal was create an offering around this gray charcoal version that was
Mm.
so good that they just couldn't say no to it. Like, and so
Yeah.
I didn't force anyone to take
Right.
the gray version. I just gave them no reason to say no. And so I think the actual
Very
statistic
interesting.
was that, like all the people, because I had to email everyone, and it was
Mm.
so annoying. I was so upset about this because I was like, man, this is so much extra work to go and do
Yeah.
this, and like so much extra time. But I emailed everyone and gave them all the decision to change or not to change, kind of thing. And I think the rate that it came out was 97% chose the new
Wow.
version, and only 3% chose the other one. So we were good.
Interesting. And how many customers were there at the time? Like thousands or
No,
hundred?
no, no. It
Okay.
wasn't thousands. Like I
Okay.
mean, for $120,000 worth of keyboards, I think it was around like the like 150 mark.
Okay.
So
Okay.
like
That's very
it
manageable.
wasn't thousands. Like we were still a
Right.
startup, right? Still a
Right.
startup.
Okay. Interesting.
But it was still like a lot of manual damage control. Like it was like 150 group
Yeah.
chats that you then had to tend to. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like
And it's
so.
all by you. Nuts. Um,
Yeah.
and so the ones who did want the original black, do you just order them after, and then they came a little later, and you fulfilled on your word there?
Yeah, it came.
Yeah.
They came 3 months later, but they had
Okay.
already been waiting like 3-4 months for it. So
Right.
it was going to be quite the wait, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was like that's where we were put, and it was like we didn't create that problem for ourselves. It was just something that happened to us,
Right.
and we needed to deal with it, right? So it was again about like not just like getting out of your own head, finding a different solution, and then going for it like full throttle.
Mm.
That's how we did it.
Crazy. Man, that's a good creative solution. That's a true entrepreneurial story. I love it. Okay, I want
Thank
to
you.
dive right into. I want to go to your website, and just geek out because like your products are beautiful. I
Thank you.
love
I don't
like
do any. I don't do any of the visual design for the. So I do the like creative direction and merchandising, but I don't do any of the like renders. All that. All that's done by Mattia, and
okay,
including the website. Anything like tech related is
yeah,
done by Mattia. Anything business or marketing is done by me.
got it. Okay, so real quick, can you describe what this does? This is like a giant like macro pad for whatever you want.
Yeah. So I mean that's essentially what it is. It's a macro pad.
Yeah,
It has
so cool.
12 physical buttons on it, and then it has two touch sensors. So
Yeah,
on either side here, it has like on the M and on the kind of the dots here.
yeah,
These are actually like two capacitive touch sensors.
that is so cool.
And then you have like tactile dials, and they're clickable. And it's just like a great product. I mean, like when anyone that picks this product up, they really like feel the quality in it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
CNC'd. It's
Uh,
CNC'd. Like it's custom. It's custom top to bottom. So I mean, like it's no wonder why it's our best seller.
yeah.
And it's also the reason why I chose that product to be the product that I wanted to test scaling Work Louder with.
Okay.
So that was like going to China, like understanding where and how they manufacture it, teaching the employees there like how to assemble this thing to our
Oh,
standards.
wow.
It
That's
was
nuts.
a really eye-opening experience to go and do and see all that.
Yeah.
But it really paid off. It really paid off, and I think that's. It might have been just the last drop, the final straw that gave Figma the confidence to do the collab with us.
Okay, let's talk about that. what can you share? Because like you just sneak peeked. Where is it here? Uh, this guy right here.
Yeah, so there's
All right.
two. There's this teaser, and then the
Yeah.
latest post that we made. There's also the box teaser. Uh,
Okay. And you have? Can you show it in?
yeah.
Okay.
So I can only show you the outside of the
Oh, that's
box.
crazy.
I can only reveal what's already been revealed.
That is
Um,
nuts.
but
Wow.
but yeah, you can kind of get the glare there on the UV print.
Nice. That's beautiful.
But yeah, so
So
this is
that's a
the
micro with
mhm.
Figma buttons or whatever.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I can't reveal what exactly comes in the package.
I'm gonna try to
Uh,
like pull as much information from you.
yeah, but yeah, I can actually show you the what's it called, like the actual packaging. So like
Okay.
we kind of specialize in at this point doing what now I call render to reality,
Uh-huh.
um, which is like
So
taking
beautiful.
our renders and just making them kind of true to life.
Mm,
Um, and so that's what you have here. You've got
okay.
like the packaging like that. On the 12th, it's going to be fully revealed.
Okay.
We did like a full like in true like work louder fashion. We did like a full animated launch trailer for it. We collabed
Okay.
with a bunch of people at Figma to make it. Um,
Wow.
but but yeah, it was
Congratulations. That's massive.
thank you.
So big.
It was quite
People
big.
lost it when you announced it.
Yeah.
And how can you share how long that collaboration has been in talks, or is it pretty fast, pretty like it's been a long
Okay,
time in the making?
so yeah, so that collab was a very long time in the making, but
Okay.
once it was a go, it
Yeah.
was like the fastest thing we've ever had to produce ever. Like it was
Wow.
really
Okay.
crazy. So to give you guys an idea, it was like it was about like kind of 2 years in the works where
Mm,
like we had this
wow.
idea to do it and we were kind of like coming up with like render designs and stuff like that. And then I had this idea in like early 2022 where I wanted to use and this kind of just goes back to like like me doing marketing the way I would want to do it. And like
Hmm.
I'm just like I always liked it when companies were like really cheeky and like really edgy on the internet. And like I want to do that for our
Yeah.
company. And so like I ended up taking Figma's slogan, which is "Nothing great is made alone,"
Uh-huh.
and then like using that against them in this marketing campaign that I like was codename "You Said It." And
Okay.
so like we like did this showed some like renders of it, and then like the tagline was like "Nothing great is made alone,"
Yeah.
and then dot, I mean, well, you said it.
Yeah.
And it just like went viral on Twitter. It went viral on Twitter, caught a couple of the employees at Figma's attention,
Okay.
and it was like a really slow burn from that point. Like there
Yeah.
was desire to do it, but
Right.
like it
Approvals
was
and going through red tape and all that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then about the time like last year when they were interested in doing it, they got acquired by Adobe. And then so
Mm.
like everything got like ultra backburnered on that. And then it was like end of September when we came back from China, they're like, okay, we got the go. Like we could do this
Okay.
now. But we also like need you to like make prototypes and like have this whole thing ready to launch like by Christmas time.
Right.
I was just like I was like, wow,
Wow.
like this includes like Pantone colors, like everything's custom about this collab.
Oh, okay.
So like we really had to like move fast on this one, and so like we have like the prototypes that
Yeah.
you'll end up seeing are actually production quality. So this is the finished version. We're not
Okay.
making any changes to it,
Nice.
and like even the product in the box is the finished one, which I'm really proud of because
Nice.
like we did this thing in like no time at all. Like we went from idea to like fully launched in it was like 2 months.
Wow. You guys
Yeah.
act fast. That's amazing.
Yeah, and that's like one of the benefits of like being a startup and like a nimble company is that you can operate with speed when
Right.
large companies they just have too much red tape and too much approvals that they need to go through.
That's great. And how big's your team? Is it just you and Mattia, or I mean, you have like your sister helping out with TikTok once in a while, or is it just you?
Yeah. So like I would say like full time, it's just Mattia and I, so it's just us two.
Mm,
And then we have like a bunch of like contractors and like part time people that like help with things.
mm,
So like all like the content that my younger sister will make for us is paid on like a merit and performance based
okay.
uh, like essentially system. I pay her $10 for every 10,000 views. So you can imagine how it gets kind of expensive when you start
Yeah.
getting millions of views and stuff. You can pay like 8K for a 5-second video.
Yeah. Wow.
You know.
Okay. That's nuts.
um, but that was actually something that not actually I was gonna say not everyone. I was gonna just say I'm just gonna change that to like the vast majority of people did not understand why I was spending so much money on marketing like that at the
Hmm.
beginning,
Okay.
because they're like, well, it's not they're not totally converting to sales. Like you're not making
Right.
whatever for like on a 4 million view video, you're not making you know you're
It's
not
not
making
converting
the
direct
yeah
sales. Yeah.
converting super well,
Yeah.
but we were growing our followers a lot, and
Mm,
that's like that just kind of goes back to like building brand. And a lot of people they don't like building brand because it's like it's too slow. And I
hmm.
feel like that's actually a great way to figure out like how willing somebody is to stick behind their company and product. Like if they're investing in brand, they're there
Hmm.
for the long term. If they're just
Hmm.
going for sale after sale after sale after sale, like it's
Mm.
not always the case, but I don't know. It kind of speaks to they're chasing the money, and as soon as it's gone, like their care for the product will also go.
Right.
So like with Work Louder, I was like from the beginning, like we need to build brand because like man, if I could make this thing work, I'd be more than happy to do this every day of my life. So
I
you
have
know,
so many questions because like the branding of just your website alone, beautiful, love it. It's
thank you.
just like bento grid design. It's on trend. So you're the mastermind behind the art direction of how this all looks.
Yeah, I don't want to take credit away from Mattia because like oftentimes like him and I will kind of like bounce things off of each other.
Hmm.
But like all the copy, like I end up doing,
Okay.
just because English is Mattia's second language, and
Right.
he's not comfortable like creating the kind of copy we need to do that. And so like if you know about like designing a website, it really starts with design like what kind of information are you designing around,
Yeah.
and then you put in all the nice visuals and the nice like sales tactics and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
So it like really starts off with me kind of writing out the copy, creating wireframes, being like, okay, like I think it'd be cool if like we had a gallery with these types of renders in it, and like it looked like the positioning of the bento grid looked like this,
Mm.
and then so that's how I contributed to the website. But in terms of like all the renders, all like the man, this website was a pain in the ass to create. It
Was
was really hard. Yeah,
really
it
well
looks
done.
really simple. It looks really simple, but it was really tough for us to make this and like have it look the way and perform the way it does today.
Oh, it's great.
So Mattia did all that, and like he definitely got a couple gray hairs from this website.
What did you build it on?
We built it using WordPress.
Okay. Right. So custom coded it or Elementor or something like that.
Uh, I believe he does use Elementor as well.
Okay.
So it's like WordPress and Elementor.
Gotcha. So I don't know if you know about me and my connection with Webflow, but we'd be happy to. I have a bunch of amazing designers who'd be happy to convert this into a Webflow version. But
Yeah, it was picking up some steam on
yeah,
Twitter a few months ago, from a guy named Diego. He created a
yes, good
really
friend of
cool.
mine. He
Yeah,
so he saw the Figma collaboration and now he's like screaming even louder. He's like, we need a Webflow collab. So, are you open to
I'd
that?
be ha- I'd be happy to do it. Honestly,
Okay,
I think
I will
I
hook
think
you
it.
up.
Okay, let's do it.
So good. I
you'll
know you gotta
you'll get the
go.
you'll get the inside scoop on the launch trailer for the Webflow.
Yes. Right on. Diego's gonna watch this and he's gonna flip. He's gonna be so happy. Oh, Mike, so good to have you. I want to respect your time. There's like, I don't know, three-quarters of my questions were not answered. I wanted to ask about like your Kickstarter campaign and how you came up to that. So I'd love to have you back on, or maybe I would love to like, connect again. But yeah,
For
thank you so
sure.
much. Had a blast, and I really want to like spread the word of what you're doing. I think it's amazing, and just your story, super inspirational. Really acknowledging you for just being a beast, like just getting out there, executing, and like even going to China. I wanted to hear more about your story there. Like that's insane. What you're doing is amazing. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's hard to fit it all in, but I hope my ADHD mind was able to keep it tight enough to make sense of it. But yeah, I'd be happy to come back on and do another one. But yeah, hopefully we got enough out of this
Yeah,
call.
for sure. Before you go, anything that you can share to the audience and how they can connect, or like, are these keyboards still available to purchase, or just pre-order? Like, how does that work? What do you want to share?
Yeah, so we're still taking pre-orders. We're still within the time frame to ship during 2024. So Q1 2024. You can
For the
pre-order on our
Nomads?
website. Yeah, the Nomad. You can pre-order on our website. I know Drop has a limited pre-order going on now, and they're actually undercutting us with the pricing. So if you want to get it cheaper on a different website, you can actually get it from Drop. It'll probably ship a little bit later than if you buy directly with us. But if price is on the top of your list, Drop has it at the cheapest it'll ever be.
Okay, cool. And how much is that going for?
I think it was 329.
Okay, and
I
you're
don't I don't
retailing at 349 right now, or no, on
Yeah,
sale right
340.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, so 349, and I think they have it 329 on the website.
Okay.
Um, but yeah. Oh, they don't have the ISO variant. So if you want to order ISO, you actually have to order it through us.
Got it.
Um, but yeah, other than that, December 12th, the collab with Figma goes live.
Okay.
This is gonna be a limited run.
Okay.
This is gonna be a limited run for this thing. So if you want it, like that's gonna be the time to buy it, because we probably won't be doing another batch of it.
Ooh.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, so it's going to be a limited run, and it's really nice. If I may say so myself, it's really really nice.
How
I
how
think.
many are you selling there?
Sorry.
How many are you selling with that limited batch?
Oh, so like it's gonna be like you have to order it during the pre-order window,
Oh,
and then
okay.
after that we lock in the quantities, and
Okay.
then after that, so like I don't know like
Got it.
however many we're gonna sell during that pre-order phase,
Yep.
and then I always like, add a margin to it to like have some extra for like the stragglers that come through.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it will be like a limited run. So if you want like this landmark collab with Figma and Work Louder,
Yeah.
December 12th is going to be the time to buy it.
Okay. Awesome. Perfect for Christmas. All right,
Yeah.
Mike. Thanks so much, buddy. It was
Thanks,
awesome to
Josh.
talk, and we'll stay in touch. So I'll see you later. For the rest of you guys, have a great week, and make sure you make that pre-order for Work Louder. All right, guys, take care. See you, Mike. Bye
All
bye.
right. Cheers, guys. Bye.